So most of my opening remarks are meant to help those who don't know much about the Caribbean Science Foundation and her projects. And so I'll start out by saying that the Caribbean Science Foundation was founded back in 2010. So we're now becoming a mature organization. We have several educational programs, which has dominated most of the time of those 12 years that we've been around. And the other part of the CSF has to do with stimulating entrepreneurship, especially technology entrepreneurship. And we're working feverishly to do more and more of that now that our educational programs are maturing. Let me say that this workshop in the summer is fit into a slot that used to be for the Barbados Junior Robotics Camp. Because of the pandemic, we have not been running the Barbados Junior Robotics Camps, and we put this workshop in its place. But anyway, several of the sponsors who sponsored the robotics camps have allowed us to use their funds to sponsor these workshops. And in particular, one of those sponsors is here. Hopefully more will come later. But Paul Innes from Sagicor is here. And Sagicor, has been involved in all of the programs that the CSF has offered since inception. The CEO of Sagicor, Doddridge Miller, is on the board of the Caribbean Science Foundation. And so he's intimately familiar with what we're doing in the CSF. And the Sagicor management team, leadership team, including Paul, has been very, very supportive. And Paul has come on this forum and addressed our students several times in the past. And I would appreciate, Paul, if you can now join us and give us some greetings from Sagicor and some inspirational words for our students who are trying to build the next set of video games.
Good afternoon to one and all, especially the students who would have gone through the discipline of attending this workshop led by the various instructors. So I want to thank the instructors for committing and dedicating the time to work with the students, and for the students, I thank you for staying the course and getting to this point. So I look forward to the several presentations that we'll see today. But I just want to briefly share with you, students and guardians and guests, Sagicor is committed to improving the lives of those in the communities in which we operate. That is our mantra. And our group president and CEO, Doddridge Miller, has made a lifelong commitment to this program, and more specifically, the Caribbean Science Foundation, to provide the necessary support that you will have the privilege, or that you can have the privilege to be engaged in such programs that will actually prepare you for the world that you will actually take over and lead in the future. So we are very dependent on you, and we expect a lot from you as you start the journey of using the various skills and talents that you develop at this point in time and into the future to actually make the world a better place. So there are three things I want to leave with you, and I want you to consider as you continue on this path and as you move from this phase to the next phase. One is, I'm sure that you would have learned a number of life skills during the period for this program, not only coding and other technical aspects of the program, but there are other parts of that, of life skills that you would have developed. And I'm sure that one essential one is teamwork and respect for each other, and actually listening to the contribution of others. Those are some of the basic things that we want to see our young people develop and actually express. Now, the other most important thing, I think, I wouldn't say most important thing, but one of the things the world is looking for, not only Barbados, but the Caribbean region, is you would be aware or should be aware, if you are not, the Caribbean and Barbados and the wider world continue to look for solutions for problems and challenges that we encounter on a day-to-day basis. And I know a lot of young people sometimes challenge why we do this and why we do that. Well, probably past generations, but we are seeking solutions to a lot of the challenges that we have. And Sagicor is no exception. As a global organization, there's a need, there's a gap, there's a vacuum for persons like yourself to actually help us find solutions to a lot of the challenges and issues. So just remember that whatever you do, that you actually think about it in that way. And the last thing I will leave with you is that I will encourage you to find a way to transition or transfer your learning into earnings. Some people might say monetize what you learn and what you develop. So don't just acquire knowledge, don't just acquire skill, but try and figure out how you can monetize that, how you can transfer that into earnings so that you can actually improve your own lot, your family, and hopefully the community. And when you do that, try and give back, right? Ensure that whatever you do is for the good of mankind. So I want to thank you for dedicating your time. I want to thank your parents for committing you to this exercise. And I look forward to the presentations. Thank you, Cardinal.
Okay, Paul, thanks so very much. The other sponsors are, I'm going to scroll through the booklet. Our headquarters are on the University of the West Indies Barbados campus. We're not officially part of the university, but we are fortunate and lucky to have the university support us and house our headquarters. The university allows us to use its classrooms for SPICE and robotics and all the other things that we do when we're in person. And so we're really very, very grateful. City of Bridgetown Credit Union has been with us. They've been funding robotics, I think, almost ever since it started. And they are committed to the CSF. So they have taken what they would have given to robotics and they put it into this workshop. And we appreciate that. The Archer Daniels Midland Company is the grain company. Well, they're all over the world, but in Barbados, they're down there, the Kensington Oval area. And they also were sponsoring robotics and have allowed us to use their funds to these workshops. And of course, Sagicor. New sponsors, the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, and the largest sponsor right now for these workshops is the US Embassy in Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and OECS. You will see that the next item on the agenda is indeed the introduction of the instructors. So David Thorpe is our main instructor for all of these workshops, not just Python. He was with the CSF from the beginning of these workshops and stayed with us and helped us to orchestrate and manage all these different kinds of workshops. And he can't teach all of them at the same time. So he's not able to teach website development, but he is teaching Python. So David, why don't you come on and say a few words about yourself?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending. As you can see there, I don't know if it's mentioned, but I'm a Bajan living in the US, and I currently lead teams of software engineers doing similar stuff to what we did in class, from front-end work to back-end work and everything in between. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity to try to teach what I can when I can in these workshops. So thank you, Cardinal, and I hope you all did learn something and you can apply it in your lives at some point.
The next on the agenda here is Theodore Bennett from Jamaica. Theodore this is his first time teaching. We had trouble sourcing Python instructors and I couldn't find any in Barbados. I went to UV Barbados and I batted 0. I went to Trinidad, I batted 1. And I went to Jamaica, I batted 3. So we're very, very happy to have a Jamaican contingent here for the first time helping us out with Python. In the past, we got our Python instructors from the USA because it was really hard to find Python instructors in the Caribbean. But that's changing, as you can see. And we really want to man these workshops with Caribbean people. Because as I always say, the CSF is of the Caribbean, by the Caribbean, for the Caribbean, with the Caribbean. And it makes sense for us to try to have all our instructors come to me.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I hope to see that the students' presentation wow you today. So just a little comment on the students. The students have been working hard and they have been doing good. They even encourage me because some of their ideas, I'm shocked as a software developer. I just see how they're working hard. It has motivated me now to push harder to my goals. So I'm happy to see young people just working so hard. So thank you for coming again.
Similarly, from Jamaica, we have Galen here, Jamaica. Galen?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. As Cardinal said, my name is Galen here. I'm originally from Jamaica, but I'm living here in Barbados right now. I really have a passion for learning and teaching, coding, software, stuff like that. So that's why I had to reach out to the CSF and get involved with this project. Just as Theodore said, to see some of the things that the students developed and how hard they've been working, it's really an inspiration. And I really commend all the students on the work that they put in, the time that they put in. We have people from different backgrounds here who have maybe jobs or they're doing a master's, PhD. They're still in school, high school, stuff like that. So they have work on top of the work here, but they were still able to go ahead and complete. And that is real serious commendations coming from all the lecturers here at the CSF. It was a great experience and looking forward to the rest of the session.
Last but not least, Manoj Kolam.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending the CSF last presentation by the students. I'm doing my PhD in UV in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm basically from India. It has been a nice and I enjoyed being a part of CSF team, and the students has encouraged me and it has given me a lot of motivation to the students to teach and learn from them as well. And David and Cardinal, it was a nice team. I should not miss about Theodore and Glenn. It was a nice team and they helped me to understand how to function and how to develop myself and to develop the students. It was a nice thing. I hope all the best for the students for their presentations as well.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to the instructors. Now they've organized themselves. I don't know who's introducing whom or when.
Right, so as Dr. Ward alluded to, in this Python course, we have 2 levels. We have our Python 1 students, which makes up the main contingent of the classes. And then we have our Python 2 students who are at a more advanced level in terms of their Python and software development lifecycle. So first, we'll be hearing who will be presenting to us are our Python 1 students. We'll be seeing the games that they created. And we'll just be going in the order of the booklet. So scrolling down, we can see our first team is Rocket Launcher, and they will be presenting on KJM Squared Galaxy Quest. So I'll allow Rocket Launcher to go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Caden Grace Howell, one of the members of KJM Squared Galaxy Quest. In our group, we have Megan Evans, me, Caden Grace Howell, and Makila Clark. One of our members, Joseph Garvey, couldn't attend today, but we still hope we can give you guys a good presentation. So KJM Galaxy Quest is a space shooter game where you destroy asteroids and any other threats that may come along the way. with different degrees of challenge via the rapid increase of asteroids and with different abilities and power-ups that it can be accessed. The player's ultimate goal is to reach the moon, and KGM Galaxy Class is an experience that any and everyone should try. KGM Squared Galaxy Class was created as a cinematic view to the known features of space. Although space is a vastly undiscovered endless continuum, we have created our game to display some of the more popular aspects. For example, rocket ships, our main way of getting to space, meteorites and asteroids, one of the many threats that can lead to casualties in space, and the moon itself, one of our first big accomplishments as humans, being able to land and put a person on the moon there. The code of the game has the player rocket ship race upwards toward the screen, as asteroids will fall from the opposite direction from the top of the screen. The player, though, is equipped with bullets that can destroy the asteroids, but if the player's rocket ship collides with asteroids more than 3 times, the player will die and ending the game. Luckily, we have created a power-up feature to give the player additional help in their journey to the moon. My teammate Michaela Clark will give the game demo now.
As Gideon said, a quest to the moon. But what does that entail? Well, we have asteroids, the moon itself, our player, and power. But what does that look like? But before we get to that, I would like to show you the skeleton of our project. Now, here you might see words, numbered, color-coded, but what does this mean? Firstly, we have imported the Pygame system so that we can actually run our code. Then we've established some constants, for example, colors, and here we've set the caption for the game. But what about the more important things, the asteroids, the players? Well, we've established classes in Pygame to show this. So we have the shield, which is part of our power-ups, asteroids, the player itself, and also the asteroids that will fall from the top of the screen. But how does this turn into the game that you will see shortly? Well, by the press of this button, run, we get our game. Now, if you look in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you will see 3 rocket ships. That establishes how many lives the player has. And if I hit one asteroid, my life decreases. However, as you will also see, there are shields and a lightning bolt, which are established as our power-ups falling from the top of the screen. Now, in theory, what you just saw was a well-working game, which was about 308 lines of code. But it wasn't always that way. Firstly, we had challenges that we had to address, combat, so we could present to you here this Saturday afternoon. Firstly, we had to choose what game, why rocket launcher, why a quest to the moon, why all of these? Well, in the beginning stages, we had this rocket launcher game and our quest to the moon, and one other game that paid homage to the previous BlackBerry and Windows game called Spacebreaker. However, after much deliberation, we decided on the KGM Galaxy Quest. Secondly, time was of the essence. So we had to distinguish the features we wanted, the graphic, the size of the screen, all of that. So to do that, we had to vote. But 4 members and voting doesn't really work out. So to make sure we finish everything in a timely manner, one person will put forward a probable solution and everyone else would make their modifications and suggestions in hopes of reaching the completed code which you just saw.
The learning of a new skill was definitely one significant change between the workshop's inception and its current stage. On July 6, we began the workshop with little to no prior understanding or knowledge about Python. However, as Michaela just showed, the output of our game demonstrates the new possession of this skill. Also, for me personally, we will be using this game as a stepping stone to advance in the field of coding and technology. The code serves as a reflection of the foundational information we had gained over the course of 6 weeks, as well as the demonstration of our Python proficiency combined with the group's creativity that we may further develop through the Caribbean Science Foundation.
So thank you very much to Rocket Launcher for taking us into space with their KJM Squared Galaxy Quest game. As Megan would have alluded to, some of the students that come in with no knowledge of coding, no knowledge of Python, no knowledge of software, or very little knowledge, and just to see, where they're at right now is really inspiring. So we're gonna move on to our next team, which is Death Runners, and their game is called Death Runner. So you guys can go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation, Death Runner by Death Runners. Our team is comprised of 4 members: Shannon Janke, student Castries Comprehensive St. Lucia; Alon Funkit Gandhi, student Immaculate Conception High School, Jamaica; Malik Best, student Barbados, who is currently absent right now; and myself, Rian Carrington, technician Electronic Repair Solutions, Barbados. Our project is an endless game in which a runner fires bullets to kill crows and tigers that approach. This game was inspired by Chrome Dino and Chicken Invaders. I will now pass on to Shernan for a demo of the game.
Good day, everyone. My name is Shannon Junkie. As said before, I live on the island of St. Lucia, and I'm a student of the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School. Death Runner is an endless 2D runner. This means that it only ends when you die in game. The game starts up on the title screen. Pressing space here will bring you into the main game. You play as the character on the left, while crows and tigers spawn from the right to attack you. The goal of the game is to avoid them for as long as possible, as colliding with them will lead to your death, as demonstrated here. To avoid crows, you can use a variety of movement options. Pressing the left R key and right R key allows you to move left and right respectively. Pressing the up R key allows you to jump, and pressing the down R key allows you to fall faster in the air. The last option you have to avoid crows and tigers is shooting bullets. This will kill the crows in 1 hit and destroy the tigers in 5. Whilst playing, your score increases over time. This killing crows adds 1 point to your score, and destroying tigers adds 5. And that is all for our game demo. Thank you for watching.
Good afternoon. My name is Olufunke, and I'll be doing the challenges and the solutions that we faced throughout this project. As a group, we faced challenges with displaying the title and game over screens for the player to see. However, by looking at the code done in class and conversations with our instructors, we were able to solve this challenge. Lastly, we encountered a challenge with printing the score on the score screen. With a couple of Google searches, we were able to find a way to print the variable to the screen. In conclusion, our team had many great moments while working on this project. We are thankful to the CSF for allowing us to learn great programming skills and a new language that will be useful in our future endeavors.
So thank you very much, Death Runner. So we've already gone to space, and now we're going back in time to the Wild Wild West. So now we're gonna go ahead and go to JSSP Games, who will be be presenting on their game R&R, aka Recycle Run.
Good afternoon, everyone. The name of our game is Recycle Run by JSSP Games, which is the name of our group. The members of our group are Jody Parser, myself, Sarah Andres, Shania Brathwaite, and Priti Nandwani. Our game was created to raise awareness for recycling. Our hope is that our game will promote recycling as an activity everyone should do to help reduce pollution in the environment. Over to Jody.
Right, so the main objective of our game basically is to collect the recyclable items and to avoid the non-recyclable items. As you can see on the screen, our recyclable items in the game are water bottles, glass bottles, and cereal boxes. And the non-recyclable items are dirty diapers, light bulbs, and the red solo cups. We chose these items because we felt that they are generally found in households and individuals might not be aware that these items are recyclable or non-recyclable. So I will pass back over to Sarah Ann, who will show a demonstration of the game.
So as we go over to the game, I will speak on the start screen. So our start screen says, welcome to our recycle run. Our slogan is, you can relax, but still recycle. To play the game, you press F to play. Within the game, you press P to pause and Q to quit. Over to Chrissy.
Yes, so as you can see, our main player is our recycling truck. And the main goal is to collect all of the recyclable items, and avoid the non-recyclable items since they cannot be mixed within the recycling truck. So the more recyclable items that you collect, the higher your score gets. And if you happen to collect a non-recyclable item, you lose a life. So you can lose up to 3 lives. And if you press P now, you get pause. And if you would like to continue, you press C. And as you can see, the speed of the items just keep getting faster and faster. Our score goes up as we collect the recyclable items and we're losing lives. We collect the non-recyclable items. So the game ended because we lost all of our 3 lives, and you get shown this game over screen. Now you can either press F to play again or Q to quit.
So for now, we will press Q to quit and move on to the challenges and solutions.
Right, so my responsibility was to animate the recyclable items. And so the challenge I had is that I had to make a decision of how I was going to animate them. So I had to either decide to use sprites or to load the image and then animate the image itself. So eventually I decided to just load the image and animate the image, like increasing the speed and so on, which that's what you saw in the game. So I will pass over to Preeti.
So my challenge was basically throughout this course, since it was something extremely new for me, there was a learning curve as it is with anything new that anyone tries to learn. And so what I decided to do to overcome that challenge was to devote a specific time just to practice this. And thanks to this class, I could always ask for help whenever it was necessary. And that really helped me a lot. Over to Sarah Ann.
Okay, so my challenge was displaying the score to the game window. My solution to that problem was creating a function in order to display the screen to the game window. And in doing that, I was able to help with the occurrences between the recyclable truck and the recyclable or non-recyclable items, so that you were able to see how much or what your score would have been as you collect or lose a life. Over to Shania.
Thank you. One difficulty I can say I experienced initially through this coding workshop was the challenge of multitasking between reading and following along with my instructors as they coded, whilst trying to code myself. As you know, Python is a practical application, and so sometimes to learn, it's best to do. So for example, sometimes when the instructors were coding, I would want to try and code along. However, to switch between the integrated development environment and the Zoom meeting, it sometimes posed a problem for me to see all of the codes that the instructors were typing while getting to type it myself. So to rectify this issue, I decided to just focus as much attention as I could during the class as my instructors coded and take as many screenshots as possible. And then after, I could execute the codes and test them myself on my own time. Back over to Jody.
On to the conclusions.
Right, so before I did this workshop, I had a negative outlook on coding. I did a coding course in my undergrad, but it was a different language. It was MATLAB, and it was not really a great experience because our lecturer didn't really teach us per se, so it was more like just to do the course to pass. But now after doing this workshop, I've learned a lot about this language, and I see the value in learning a coding language now. And I would say, like, it's not just, you know, like create a game and have fun and stuff like that, but we were able to add a message to our game about something that we all cared about, which was a really good experience. So pass on to Preeti.
So my key takeaway from this class is that Python is extremely user-friendly. Like, you can see English keywords, and if you actually read through the code, you can understand it. And also, if you make any error, the error is concise and it tells you where it is and you can see how to fix it. And I also understood that once I have a good understanding of the basics, I can always build on that, but knowing the basics is always important. Moving on to Sarah Ann.
So my takeaway would be that I learned what you can do with Python, like what you can do coding with Python. So Python, in using Python, you're able to code software that will be used within cars, coding software that we use in our day-to-day home appliances, such as a refrigerator, even our cell phones and laptops. The workshop helped me with helped me increase my interpretation and logical skills, in the sense that I was able to think, like my thinking improved. I was able to understand the way to go about things better. And I really appreciate that from this workshop. On to Shania.
Thank you. So my time during the Caribbean Science Foundation coding workshop certainly opened my eyes to a world of Python and the multiple capabilities of the language. With the aid of my instructors, I can confidently say I learned from as simple as arithmetic operations to as complicated as game development. I learned about the object-oriented nature of the Python language, and that there is not just one rigid way to achieve a goal or a function, but there are multiple ways in which we can execute different codes and functions to achieve our goals. Yes, so this is the end of our presentation. We do hope you enjoyed.
All right, so thanks very much to JSSP Games for teaching us a bit about recycling. I know I learned something because I didn't even know that those red solo cups weren't recyclable. So I'll definitely learn something today, and I can already, you guys can check one person as being impacted by a game already. So that's very, very, very good. Thanks to JSSP Games. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the next group, which will be Runtime Arrow. And the game that they'll be presenting on is Space Jump.
Good day, everyone. My name is Kamaria Lloyd, and I am the leader of Runtime Arrow. In this group, alongside myself, are Kiba Crafton, Patrick Hilton, who could not make it today, and Isaiah Laney. Our game is a sci-fi fantasy themed side scroller called the Space Battle. Is formerly called Space Jump.
Okay, what is Space Jump or Space Battle? It's about an astronaut stranded on a strange planet and must survive an alien attack and protect his spaceship to leave the planet. The player is to destroy the aliens and the alien ship before him get destroyed by the rocks. Who is the demographic for Space Battle? Space Battle was created to entertain people of all ages, specifically those interested in space or astronomy. This game would be more useful to younger audience with curious minds between the ages of 7 and 13 due to its simplicity.
Okay, before we run our demo, here is a quick look into the controls. The space bar will be used to shoot. The left and right key on the keyboard can be used to run. The up key to jump. The K is a special key that can only be used on the alien spaceship only. It's a laser. And the N key can be used to end the game. Upon running the game, the user will be greeted by a start screen that will prompt them to click any key on their keyboard to start the game. On the start screen, there is also information on the various game controls. The user can press the spacebar to shoot bullets, the up key to jump, the left key to move left, the right key to move right, and the K key to shoot lasers. The game starts. The player and his stationary spaceship will be on the left side of the screen, and the enemies will be approaching them from the opposite side where their spaceship is in a stationary position. The goal of this game is for the astronauts to destroy the enemy ship before running out of life or before his ship gets destroyed by the rocks and aliens. The astronaut is to protect his ship while shooting aliens, destroying the enemy ship and dodging rocks. The player has the options to move from left to right, shoot, and jump while carrying out his task. However, any collision with a rock would mean instant death for the player, but collisions with aliens only brings down his life. The rocks will fall freely from the sky at random speeds and locations. Collisions with the player can kill the player. Collisions with an alien can kill the alien, but collisions with either spaceships can only lower their health. The player cannot destroy the rocks, but they can use the spacebar to shoot bullets and kill the aliens that will respawn shortly after death. The lasers, however, that are triggered using the K key can only affect and bring down the life of the enemy ship. The game can be ended by the user if they click the N key or on their keyboard or click the X on the window of the game. The game ends if the player's life reaches 0, if there's a collision between the rock and the player, and if the health on either spaceship reaches 0. When the game ends, the player will be returned to the start screen where they will be prompted to click any key to start the game. And that was our demo.
Here are some challenges and solutions we faced during creating this game. For me, my challenge was I was keep overcomplicating the codes, and my solution was that it's essential to understand and build on the basics of the coding.
Well, for me, my main issue with the when it came to this was the fact that I generally have issues when it comes down to remembering stuff. On top of the fact that my PC at this point in time is generally really old, had it for over 5 years now, it often ran into multiple issues. The main way I found my solutions to these problems were just repeatedly going back and forth between the slides and videos provided by the instructors, while also using whatever resources I could find throughout the internet. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any other solutions to currently work with my old PC.
The biggest challenge for me was understanding where to position different aspects of the code. I learned in class that where you place a certain code and how you indent impacts the flow of the entire code. Possible outcomes were that there'd be an error, the code would run as it should, I wouldn't get the results that I want. But after observing other codes on the internet and revising the ones in class, I learned how to determine where to put each code so the game can run smoothly.
Space Game is currently a game that is still in development, but although I see it can be a useful thing for the future, as this workshop assisted us in learning a form of programming that we had yet to learn. But due to this can assist us in future endeavors by assisting the future generation by developing human resources throughout the Caribbean, allowing this to assist us in a multitude of ways at this point in time and in the near and far future.
More Space Battle. Space Battle has given us an opportunity to build a game from scratch with the support of each other and the guidance of our teachers. There is still a lot that we don't know. There was still a lot of things that we wanted to add to the code, like and to the game, like a life bar, a score board, a bit more diverse gameplay, a proper start screen, a game over screen, and stuff like that. But we are considering continuing to work on this code, working with each other, keeping in touch. And as we learn, we hope that our game can grow and can be played by, like the more older, younger generation, because it's currently very simple.
My experience with Python, it was a great introduction to the world of coding for me, especially when we first learned how to do mathematical equations with functions. And it was a great experience to build a game with my colleagues. And I hope to build on Python coding and continue to learn more coding languages.
This has been an amazing experience that exceeded all expectations. I learned the basics of coding in Python, and it was honestly a good and exciting start for me. With this acquired knowledge, I was able to code my very first game with the assistance of my group members and the very helpful and incredibly patient instructors. I feel my critical thinking skills has gotten a major boost from doing this course. The more I coded, the more I understood how to think code in a sense. Working in groups had always been a challenge for me. So when I heard we'd have to code games as a team, I was a bit skeptical about it, especially since I'd be working with people I've never met before. But I fortunately picked the right persons to be in a group with, and it worked out really, really well. I honestly cannot see myself pulling off Space Battle without them. This course has taught me that it is okay to let others help, that I don't have to do everything by myself. I found that group work isn't really as bad as I thought it was.
Throughout this entire course, I've wanted to, it showed me and helped me learn something that I've been just having a massive fan of since I've been in primary school, since childhood, in fact. So when I got shown the opportunity to try this, I just went for it. Thanks to instructors and the help that we've gotten, it was not too difficult, but it was still came with its many challenges. I enjoyed it greatly and I will be continuing this in the near future.
This is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Great presentation. As Dr. Ward said, it's really, really good as an instructor to hear some of the takeaways that you guys are getting from this course. Learning to work with a group, coding, all of those things is really, really good to hear. And just continue on that same trajectory, guys. It's only up from here. You can only go from here, and just keep putting in the work and the hours and coding. Allow your interest to lead you. Allow yourself to be, engulfed in the coding world and the software world, and get involved. So that's really good to hear, guys. All right. So with that, we'll move on to our next group, which is Block Hoppers, and their game. Actually, sorry, I think their team name is TBD. And the game that they will be presenting on is Block Hoppers. So TBD, please go ahead and take that.
So good day, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yes, no?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so good day, everyone. We're TBD Studios, and the game we've created over these past few weeks is called Block Hoppers. Throughout this presentation, I'll be giving a brief overview of our team, the game we've created, a preview of this game, the challenges we faced throughout, how we overcame these challenges, the future of our game, personal reflections, and a conclusion. So I'm now going to introduce our team. My name is Simon, and I'm from St. Lucia. I'm currently studying a Bachelor's of Engineering in Robotics at the University of Sheffield in the UK. Now on to Fawzia.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fawzia Taladia. I'm from Barbados. I'm a student at Barbados Community College studying computer studies. Now to Troy Hamblin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Troy Hamblin. I'm currently a chef at Comma Beach Club in Mango Bay, Barbados. This is my first time learning programming in any facet, and it's a pleasure to be here. And our last team member, Jamelia Carter, she was unable to be here for the meeting today, but she was a student at UE and she is studying biochemistry.
Okay, so when we initially got this project brief from the instructors, we quickly shared ideas of what we would like to do. I think we initially wanted to do a racing game or something roguelike, but then after sharing our experiences and our interests, we all realized that we quite like platform games, and thus we created our own. So on the image, you could see that this is our initial idea. At this moment, we were just playing around with making platforms and seeing how the collisions would work, how the player movements would work. But at the end, our game is a single player game, as you saw, and someone has to collect coins, traverse through the level, dodge enemies, and just try to reach to the door, which is the next level. We think that it's perfect for everyone of all ages, and it's just an exciting game. Now I'm going to pass it on to Troy, who could give you a demo of such game and maybe explain what each of us did. On to you, Troy.
Okay, just making sure everybody can hear us okay. Welcome to Block Hoppers. This is our landing zone. This is our start screen. It was designed by our lovely Fawzia. This is where we decided we would start the game. It would be our jumping off point, so to say. I'm going to invite Fawzia to come and speak a little bit about creating the start screen.
Hi, can you reach the share but without the sound? It's really loud.
Troy? Yeah. That's the bit that like.
For the start screen, I used images and made it into a button. So when you click on the stop, the entire game would shut off. And when you click on start, it's where you actually go to the game screen and you can start playing the screen. And then we also did some fonts and said welcome.
Next on our project list was designing the levels. As we said, we were making a platformer, and so my challenge was figuring out how to translate the screen that we were given into a 2D space and then creating the platforms for the player to end up traversing over. The way I chose to challenge that problem is we created a level map as a list in the code, then proceeded to have every tile in the list, every character in the list be representative of information on the screen. And so the solution was to have certain characters represent the platform, certain levels represent enemies and coins. And then our group leader, Simon, was in charge of the player and how they interacted. Simon?
Yeah, so my task throughout this project was creating the player movements. Our player actually is a girl because our lovely Fawzia and Jamelia felt like girl characters never featured within games. So we made our girl the character, and it's called Pie Girl. So I did the movements and the collisions between the player and the platform, as well as the collisions between the coin and the player, as well as the enemies. As you can see, Troy is playing the game. Please don't get killed. As you collect the coins, they're added in the top left, and you can see Troy, can you show what the users, what happens if you get killed by one of the enemies? So at this screen right here, it allows you, it tells the game is over, but it then gives you the option to continue playing since this is just a demo. Once you get through the door, you get this nice message saying congratulations. Thank you, Troy. On to the next slide. So like every other group project, we encountered challenges throughout. Forja, you could touch on the first one.
The first challenge that we faced was integrating everyone's code together. Everyone got their own part that they had to do, and then together we came together and put all the code together, and that was my part. But it was a bit difficult knowing that there was going to be errors like too much indentation or too repetitiveness. So in order to fix this, we all went on a Zoom call outside of class hours and fixed the code, put it together, and made sure it ran correctly.
One thing that was quite challenging on my end, I should add, is once a player reaches a platform, its original bottom of the player now changes. And it was quite hard to dynamically change the boundary of such player so that it doesn't fall through the platforms or fall through the entire screen. But with the help of Galen and David, it was really beneficial and I got through with it.
And the biggest challenge I think we all faced was trying to figure out how to have a game over and an end screen. Because of how we coded the game, we needed to initialize the game state. So essentially have the game run just in case something happens. And then we had to set a condition. If the player interacted with an enemy, then the game would have to end and we'd have to print the screen and then continue from there, as well as the condition. And if the player interacted with a door, and printing out our congratulations screen. And so sitting down and puzzling together and putting together the conditions we needed to make sure that that ran correctly, and essentially finishing it was a fun challenge, to say the least.
But what is the future of such game now? We have a few ideas in mind. Oh, Troy, you could handle this one, sorry.
So because an additional challenge our group members faced was some of us fell ill, and so our time frame ended up cutting short, and so the game is not as polished as we would like it to be. And so the first task we'd set to correcting is finishing our level state. We wanted to increase the difficulty, have moving platforms, as well as other conditions for the player to face to increase the challenge on the game.
Another thing we would like to do is make it multiplayer, more interactive and fun for the player itself. So by doing this, we would add more players or make it that so a friend can also join the game or the computer can play.
Yes, we would also like to have more levels, but within specific levels, not just have 3 platforms, but a bit more, like let's say 7 or 8. And lastly, we would like to publish this to the online stores so that everyone could enjoy at the end. So yes, Troy, maybe go to the next slide. So Jamilia isn't here. So Jamilia left her reflection here printed, but I personally really enjoyed this experience. It's always nice working with like-minded persons, but it's really nice to work with Caribbean persons. I really think I benefited with not only coding, but my project management skills. And I think that's my biggest takeaway.
I think for myself, it was learning coding completely. As I said at the beginning of this, I had no understanding for programming or coding as a whole. And so working with my wonderful team members, but taking part in class and learning and perfecting, I shouldn't say perfecting, getting a grasp on a good skill, a new skill that I have a genuine interest in, was a lot of fun. And I want to thank all of our instructors for helping and guiding us in that direction, because it was an uphill fight.
Okay, so my time at this workshop, I learned that Python is a very versatile language and that you can use it to create many different things. It's really easy to use and understand, especially with the help of our instructors and explain the basics, made it fun for us even in class times. Overall, this workshop and coding this game was extremely fun, and also meeting new people was really good.
So yes, thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you to TBD Studios for that present. All right, so now we'll be having our final group, which will be Pi First, and they'll be presenting on their game, Flappy Ball. So I'll go ahead and give it over to Pi First to present on their game. Thanks.
Good day, everyone. This is my team, and we are called Pi First. And I'm from Antigua and Barbuda, a student from St. Anthony Secondary School. And these are my teammates. We have Kurt and Karen, and the different associations where they go.
Hey everyone, my name is Kurt. I am from St. Lucia and a student of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen, and I am also from St. Lucia. I'm a student of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College.
We hope that you can sit back, relax, and enjoy our presentation.
For the past couple of weeks, we have been working on a game called Flappy Ball. No, not Flappy Bird, but Flappy Ball.
Our first project is a simple recreation of Flappy Bird, and it's a game where all ages can play.
This game will be most useful to online gamers that will just want to have a simple, relaxing, and a fun time while playing. Knowing this info, this game will be crazy fun for all ages, so you can say we are giving Tetris a run for their money.
How to play Flappy Ball.
The basics of this game. This game is for the player to jump between obstacles, where your score will be incremented by 1 point after you pass each obstacles. There are 2 power-ups, blue and yellow. The blue power-up basically makes your player smaller for 10 seconds to make it easier to pass through the course. And the yellow power-up is, it adds 5 points to your original score. And you must be able to stay above the ground or else you lose.
At this moment, we will show you, the audience, a quick demo of our game, Flappy Ball. But before we show you the demo, this is the code that we have. So basically, we have the player, which is a ball. We also have, well, we're supposed to have other power-ups, but time, we didn't have enough time. So we only implemented the blue power-ups and the yellow power-ups. And there are also obstacles. So now I will run the game for you to see how it is. So basically, you have to jump in between, and the obstacles will get closer and to be harder every round. Oh wow, I died already. Let me try one more time so I can. So basically, that's basically the game. And if you hit the obstacle, you will die. So yeah, that's all we have so far. We will plan on continuing the game later on.
So now we will discuss some of the challenges we encountered while creating this game and the solutions that we applied to make things easier.
One of the biggest challenges was to find the score to record the player. I did some research, I had to read, I went online, watched some videos, then I had to try to understand the concepts and apply what I understood to the code. The other areas were less challenging, and it was simple applying codes.
My biggest challenges were implementing the accurate code for obstacles and power-ups for the game to run properly. I asked the teachers for guidance and would like to thank them for helping me with this project. I also browsed for YouTube tutorials and websites to give me answers and also further enhance my knowledge on Pygame.
My biggest challenge was trying to make the collision with the player and the power-ups. For the solution, I did some research on various websites, which gave me some answers to achieve my goal.
Our project, as you have seen, can make on the list for one of the top online games. As a team, we can start our own business and branch off into creating other games of similar content. However, we will continue this endeavor to fine-tune our creation. This means for certain we will keep in contact for the making of the next potential top game.
I believe that we learn more than just IT from this. I can boldly say that we have learned teamwork, communication, developing our knowledge further in IT, which can be applied to the additional knowledge we will gain in this field later on in life. So thank you to the instructors for your patience devoting the past Wednesdays, evenings, and Saturday mornings with us, passing on the knowledge to the next generation. Thank you to all the audience that took the time to listen to us. Thank you to my team, Kurt, Karen, and myself. Our determination and vow not to fail has paid off. So remember our name. We are called Pyverse.
Yes. Yeah, okay. All right. So now we'll move on to Python 2. And I'll allow Felicia Cox, because for Python 2, everybody, it must be noted that they were not allowed to go into groups. They had to do everything by themselves. So Felicia Cox will go ahead and present on her game, which is Froggy Get Home. Felicia, go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for the introduction. As I said before, my name is Felicia. I'm in Python 2. I'm also a registered engineer. I'm doing a PhD at UW Cave Hill, focused on renewable energy. I'm actually a renewable energy professional. I'm also a mother of 2, and I was really excited to learn gaming in Python because I will probably end up teaching it to my daughter. I've never been a gamer, but because part of what I want to do for my PhD will involve data visualization, I wanted to improve my knowledge of Python, learn animation, and also to increase my confidence when it came to visualization itself. So my game is actually inspired by Frogger, which is a 1980s, a very classic 1980s top-down viewer game, single player arcade style. So in this particular, in this case, what I wanted to do is I wanted a game that was fun to play, because I'm not a gamer. So if it's not any fun to play, why do I even want to implement it? I wanted to use modern graphics. I didn't want to have a game that was so complex that I couldn't do a good job in the time that we had. So I decided to keep it relatively simple, where the frog starts at the bottom of the screen in a safe space, which is the grassy area. And there are 2 main tasks that have to be achieved in order to win the game. You have to reach one of the lily pads at the other end, and you have to accumulate a minimum number of points. I've set it, I have a single level and I've set it at 400 for this level. So let's go ahead and play the game. As you can see here, I have a start screen, pressing any key to start. They're actually up to 4 cars, 5 logs, and insects on the screen at any one time, and it's very challenging to get across the road sometimes. Because you have all of these obstacles, and the obstacles can hit you, meaning the vehicles and the logs, you kind of have to be very careful. The strategy I find that works the best is to come all the way to the right of the screen, because traffic only comes from one direction, and try to get across as quickly as possible, while still getting some of the insects along the way. And that's because you can't accumulate enough points to win the game simply by moving across the screen. You do get some points from moving across the screen. We have lane, and it's 10 points per lane, and you get bonuses for reaching the sand, where I am now, and also the lily pads at the top. But that'll only give you about 250 points. And so you have to eat, several insects in order to get that to happen. Now, what I found was I had some challenges with some of the collisions for the logs. Vehicles were fairly okay. But what I did to try to make sure that there was enough complexity in the stream was I made it so that the insects move around if the insects move around if the logs are going to hit them. So because of that, it makes it a lot harder to eat the bugs in the stream, even though it's easier sometimes to get the bugs in the stream than it is to get the bugs on the road. I'm gonna play again, and I'm gonna show you what happens if a car hits the frog, and I'm also gonna show you what happens if a log hits the frog. As you can see, with the car hitting the frog, he dies. You lose a life. And if you also get hit in the stream, you also lose a life. If you lose all your lives, you are going to lose the game. And you can restart the game if you like. Or you can exit, which is what I'm going to do now. I had a lot of, I guess you would say, assistance in terms of graphics and sounds that I found on the internet. And so I made sure to have a set of credits at the end. So there are a lot of challenges with developing a game that's even as quote unquote simple as this. This was not, even though I tried to choose a simple game, this was nowhere near as simple as I thought it would be. The first thing was I had cars that were driving over one another. So I was like, okay, I need to implement some sort of collision algorithm. And so I went for elastic collisions. That's where you have momentum and energy being conserved. And there's a pair of equations that you can calculate. When it came to collisions between logs, somehow they didn't want to behave themselves. So given the limited time that we had, it's a very short time frame we had, I said what I'd do, I would try to simplify it a bit. And so what I did is I actually used a detection algorithm to basically relocate the logs so that they'll never actually be on top of one another. I realized that you can get a lot of latency with on-the-fly calculations here, especially when it comes to, for example, the animations, doing a lot of rotation and stuff like that. Frequently is not going to help your game speed. So I actually tried to minimize that, that I only would do rotations if I'm changing direction. I had a lot of pre-calculated values that I put in class variables, and I use lists of reference because list referencing is a lot faster than doing a complicated algorithm. I had an issue at one point in time where the class variable really was giving me problems. I realized that it was I needed to reference something that might have needed to be initialized at runtime. So what I did is a lot of my class variables were actually initialized at runtime. So I created the class variable and set it to none or 0 or negative number, depending on what it's supposed to be, what type it's supposed to be. And then I would initialize it the very first class that's created of that type, object that's created of that type. So for example, when the frog is created, the class variables get initialized. I had this really annoying, I have to say, annoying problem with what's called color keys, so the backgrounds of the graphics. I ended up being able to see through some of my vehicles, like my police cars. And so I just used like a brute force method for that. A lot of the other algorithmic, calculation methods work great for a lot of other things, but it wasn't working so great for the colors. So what I did is I picked a color that wasn't a part of any items in my color scheme and chose magenta. Very distinctive, easy to see kind of. And I used that as the color key for example, the vehicle, so that the vehicles would render appropriately. There's so many changes and improvements I wanted to have for this game. And I kind of prepped for some of them and hoped that I would get around to them, but that did not happen. It was just, there were so many things to do, so many aspects, and I spent a lot of time on this game, especially since it was just me. I wanted to implement multiple levels, so I actually have the scoreboard implemented to keep score as you level up. There's a total score and there's a level score in the code. But of course, only the level score is updated as you go through the level right now. I wanted to implement sound control because when I do what games I do play, I like Sudoku, I like logic games, and I find the game music annoying. So I usually turn off sounds and turn off music, and I wanted to be able to do that eventually with this. But of course, that also takes, additional graphics to implement and so on and so forth. And all of that takes some time, but I'm confident I can actually get that working pretty quickly. I had challenges with location and edge detection, meaning I needed to be able to detect when I'm on a lily pad. I needed to be able to detect if I'm in the water or on the land. As you could tell, if I'm in the water, I'm swimming. If I'm on the land, I'm walking or hopping. And so there's a lot of challenges with that. I actually had another challenge earlier today in that somehow between yesterday and today, my main player code got corrupted. So I actually had to do a lot of work to get my player code back up and running. Fortunately for me, I tried to read up on Python itself and best practices, and creating modules is the way to go. So I created multiple different modules, and my player module was all by itself. So that meant the only thing I really had to worry about is to get my my player to be back to a workable state. It's not back the way that it was because it was a little bit more sophisticated, but as you can see, it's good enough for a good play. I also wanted to maybe get sounds for the vehicular collisions, maybe honking when a vehicle is getting close to another one, when they crash, to have a hitting noise. I also wanted to have some more realistic stream behavior. As an engineer, I'm very aware that when you have fluids moving in a tube, a channel, a pipe, what happens is that you get friction with the sides. And so you usually have a slower speed on the edges than you do in the middle. But in this particular case, because that would have been a bit more complicated to figure out how I wanted it to behave, I just let all of the logs go at the same speed. And what would be really great, but would take a lot of effort, I think, is to come up with alternative backgrounds and animations. I had a lot of trouble finding animations, strangely. I had a lot of trouble finding animations. And so, especially for my frog, so I would probably have to do a lot more custom, which would take a lot of effort. And I'm not a graphic artist, so that was a part of my challenge. So in conclusion, this was just a great opportunity to expand my coding experience. I didn't come in as a novice. I'd actually coded in Java before. And I had one course at UE which utilized Python, but I had to basically teach myself in order to do it because I'd never done it before. I can honestly say now that visualization now is a lot less intimidating, way less intimidating. I think though that going forward, when I'm looking at my thesis, I'll know that I'll have to put a significant amount of time aside for visualization and graphics, because this did take a lot more time than I thought it would, and especially tweaking it so it looked pretty much how I wanted it to. Very time intensive and extensive. Sorry about that. I can say I really it doing something like this, especially on your own, gives you the greatest appreciation for how wide the skill set is that has to be engaged to do games. You have graphics designers, you have sound engineers, you have coders, you have project managers. And on this project, I had to be everything. And that was so tough. And it took a lot more time than I anticipated. But it has been very, very, very satisfying to be able to get this done, when really a single feature of one of these games sometimes might be an entire project with multiple people. Like just doing graphics for a game might be multiple people. One thing I really love about this is the fact that this really brings science education and math education to light, because you have to understand user coordinate systems, so Cartesian coordinates. You have to be able to work with, for example, linear motion. So if we're talking about, V is U plus AT, you've got a velocity, you have a velocity in terms of creating your animation, initial position, and so on. You have to be able to manage that. Also, sorry about that. Also, I also had to, there's the elastic collisions, which you kind of have to know about or have learned about, let's say in physics, or you have to do a lot of research to really understand it. And then as someone who's coded in Java before, I could say Python is quite different. Both are object-oriented programming languages, but Python code, I found I wrote it a lot faster than when I would write code in Java. The modules in that are available really make it a lot easier, a lot less stressful to be able to get what you need to do done in the time that you want it, hopefully. And so I found that it was great getting those kind of immediate results. And for me as an engineer, I could say that immediacy is not something that I get a lot of. I have designed electrics for buildings. I designed PV systems, so photovoltaic systems. And you have to wait weeks or months to see the building built, to see the PV installation up and running. And to be able to have such immediate feedback on your skills and your effort, it really was very exciting and fulfilling. So I wanted to say thank you to a bunch of people, including, of course, Caribbean Science Foundation and Professor Ward for putting this on. I was very happy to take it this year. It was just in time. All the tutors, all the Python tutors, but especially David and Manoj, who were the Python 2 tutors, and the other students in the class, because we did learn from one another. Thanks so much to CSF sponsors. Obviously, this wouldn't be possible without them, and there are people in my family that I have to thank. I had a time trying to find logs. I couldn't find any logs, and my nephew, who's very into graphics, he was gracious enough to actually create logs for me from scratch. And all of those frog sprites, they weren't all the way you see them, like the frog, when the frog dies and you see there's some blood on the ground or whatever, and the underwater sprites and the swimming sprites, he took the base sprites for me and he really modified it. So I technically had a team of 2 where he was working a little bit on graphics for me, and I'm really thankful. And for my partner and my daughters, who put up with all the time that I spent on this computer. I know that I have a 3-year-old and she really was not having it sometimes. She would climb into my lap and make me stop. But they kept me grounded, and they were very patient. And so I thank them a lot for that.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much, Felicia. You brought us into a whole different realm just a while ago. So really thank you for that. As I would have said, Python 2, which is the course that Felicia is a part of, They have the more advanced students who have more background and more experience with software engineering and coding in general. And you could definitely see that come out with Felicia's presentation and her game. So really big thanks to Felicia. Big thanks to every single person who came here today to view the presentations, and of course, the groups themselves who put in the work and the time to get to where you guys are at right now. It's crazy to see what you guys have come up with, how far you guys have come in the short amount of time that was given to you, right? It would have been a month for the games and 2 months in general learning Python. So it is absolutely crazy. I'm very proud of all of you guys and the work that you guys have done. I don't know if you guys would have seen my face, but I was nothing but smiles because the work that you guys have done is great. And yeah, just as Felicia said, keep it up, challenge yourselves, you know, and keep moving forward.
I don't have much to add. Galen, you did a good job in wrapping up for me, so that's fantastic. I just want to say thanks to the students who put in heroic efforts. Certainly in the last week, I saw miracles happen where people came from no code, which is, you're going to hear about no code and low code as you go forward, but I'm taking it literally right now. People came from no code to lots of code today. And I'm very, very pleased to see that it all paid off for all of the teams.